Hi, I'm going to launch my channel with my conclusions so far. I will talk about sketches on this program and how they aren't to be believed wholly. Examples of sketches that I'm referring to are ones that mark significant moments in history. I'm following the Australian timeline as we could have had the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries running parallel until they had worked out when the 1950s should be. Then it's apply sorcery with events and monumental events at that. If in Australia it was the 18th century, then photographers would have been at these events, as it was a photographic revolution in Australia, with so many photographers around. But in the sketches, we see large crowds of Anglo-looking people for the opening events and monumental events like Burke and Wills. And we also see sketches of fires, breweries, and fashion. But the other people have the old world look of being degraded. This sketch shows a tribe on a hill at one end of Collins Street. My conclusion is this sketch is a John Batman original as the Abyssinian, and this one as a Moor. They're both showing the old world trying to keep the new capitalist civilization from taking hold in Australia or Victoria. Now, this shows John Batman with his treaty for the purchase of Australian Aboriginal land. The Australian Aboriginal looks Zulu with the classical Aussie face or Ned Kelly face, similar to this painting here. And now it's the new improved looking Australian Aboriginals. This trifecta of pictures shows the gigantic hill in the background that's meant to be Batman's Hill, with the lovely profile portrait of John Batman. Then we have the flood mud removal over Kensington Yards and Spencer Street. And then we have all the lovely smog and smoke that never existed, as Melbourne had alternative clean energy or electricity, with new energy resources coming on board or being reactivated. Now have a look at that picture in the middle and tell me that's not a dead ringer. So, quarantine ground, Port Phillip Bay. Was this quarantine ground set aside for the new white people, as they were, not too sure about them, everyone was, and their mutations? As it is on this boat here, deck of the Gips for London. Now, deck of the Gips for London, what this gentleman in the middle saying is, I hope, Captain, they will not find this too much. Supposed to stop and see how they will take it. And now we see here, I fear, Maurice, we ain't doing any good. I'm sure we're not. We are concentrating the population at any rate. And that's the population. You can see down in the bottom there, getting squished. Redheads. And they don't look very happy about it. They're going to break my back. And something about the drought. And the blacks are a joke. But don't these sketches look just like Phil Day? Look at this ranger. He don't need makeup. He's the big show on stage. And we just read about his mates. It's Phil Day and a hat. A show about a hat. A hat. A show about a hat. I mean, everybody wore a hat back in those days, but they're trying to change it into some hobo wearing freak. Phil Day and his hat. Now, this is the law and order of the English, yet it leaves out how the white children are acquired. It's the most basic law and order structure I've ever seen. And this was meant to be from Tasmania. Now, right in the centre here, this sketch shows children running, very small children, but it's all in the beholder's eye. Let's say the children are marched off to church to learn about Anglican God, or stolen children like foster housing, losing their culture, Or are these the individual children who live a carefree life, coming and going as they feel, but always loved and adored like little wise gifts from God? And today, in this age of greed, fear, depression, and murder, with apathetic minds, it's we who are wrong to judge this sketch. The lithographer Ham, Q. Athenaeum, the study of the arts. The caption on this picture lost me by the river's description, the Okaparinga, which has translations to mean oka, onka, clean, white, or paringa, dirty, greasy, or like a prick, Okaparinga, Pringale. But anyway, the Upper Paringa River, South Australia. It's the Yarra at Kew Lunatic Asylum, which houses people that still follow the metaphoric life. They do not enjoy the metaphysical interpretation. So it was a school for arts, is what Ham's letting us in on. The Wild Bushman was advertised on sketches showing the open, empty land to explore like there's no one watching. So go out, go crazy, and then head on down Collins Street like a wild man, going straight down White Line Fever with his horse. And now what do we have? The big V8 Hemi Ram. Yep, hyped up rubbish about what mates do and silly family role models television gives us. And this one, the lie that the Chinese came here as a race to empty the country of gold and work like scabs so we can blame them when our capitalist system failed, causing riots. No photographs. Well, I think there might be one somewhere, but no photograph was available for this sketch of Princess Bridge opening. Or was there no one who turned up for a fake opening organised by the Fourth Estate of Melbourne? If you look at the shrubs in the background, they appear to be moving people. Can these shrubs be hints the artist gave us of the curfews and exodus of black people, as there were 3 piers in Melbourne? Geelong had many piers too. We only see Station Pier, Port Melbourne, for the people of Anglo-Europe white appearance, embarking or disembarking. So there's a celebration of a single arch for a lord, but that's probably just written on there, the Lord. I mean, it's a lot of illustrations go on there. And look at St. Paul's. Now a celebration of a single arch for a lord, but again, no one's bothering, or the real honour was for the black people to come together and adore with a more the black lord for us all. Powerful picturesque sketch or propaganda map pointing out to all the immigrants, if there was any, places to visit. And look at Princess Bridge standing out. It must have been after the Fourth Estate opened it. Burke and Wills most likely never existed, and John King is connected to a family in Seymour, Philip Gidley King. The only photograph showing Burke as an expedition leader is this airbrush coloured photo, making it hard to see the original brushwork. This photograph here of the party leaving has the same face as on the photograph we just saw. And again, no photographer for this PR event. The photographers were busy illustrating facts to form our false narrative. So that's his face there. This is a sketch for King. I mean, it's just all PR. I've never known of this. The lying in state of remains for Burke and Wills. It's quite fancy. And that's got nothing to do with Burke and Wills. That's something Celtic. So here we have the oddball looking people cooked up by the artist. These would be well-to-do black people who love theatre and acting, always presenting themselves as gentlemen with a lot of fire, as they are the esquires who lived in the huge palaces now long gone. They became quarries or converted into capitalistic identified buildings, like saying Eagle as a tavern, Eagle Tavern, or does that say Eagle and Raven? And again here they're showing people up to be larrikins, lunatics. The dress circle's a bit like, I'm not sure. What's she yapping? And here's just an interesting photograph he took in the street. He's got a group of people in the corner here. We'll investigate them. And there he is. There's our chaps. And they're the ones that stayed up in there, not the white people. Now, here we have gloomy Melbourne, so better invent police for this new civilization being installed with crime, booze, prostitution, and that's just the headlines. It's the Roman soldiers coming to rescue us. So look at all in there, how dark and dingy and goofy they make everyone look. On the train, and then there's down the fish market, and here comes the police. And next, the jails, or the goals, or the gallows. That were old technology, where the sewers underneath the cities brought clean water on a gravity fed journey to turn the turbines. But the English turned black current human cells into prison cells to create depression and steal your soul and your rights of freedom, and advertising it in the police news. And here's just that's not a prison cell. That's Welcome to Australia. That doesn't make any sense. Just down at Point Lonsdale. And here comes fashion. But at the moment, the girls are studying because they've got to study hard. Got to be really smart. Got to be really smart. You got to go to college. You got to get a degree. You got to be smart. And then you've got to get funky with miniskirts, whatever that was. Get funked up. Get funky. Right. There would have been black people being deported during this time, either through the Moorish style immigration or slave on Pacific and Oriental ships. The clothes in the fashion catalogues use cotton picked in the southern states of the USA, then manufactured or mass produced in England for the capitalist culture buying up the world. The costumes the old world black people made and wore or kept as costumes in customs house. That's why governors and judges are all false. It's just a costume for the out of touch hierarchy. But when you were the firefighter, you wore fire brigade costumes, or police officer or soldier. When you played those games, like shooting the cannon, you wear a little soldier's outfit. You would get your costume you made from Costumes House. So all the styles individual women sewed was made into a fashion catalogue, like Victorian era, that doesn't exist, or the Regent era, Regency. It was all just the individual taste of the esquires and the ladies that liked fashion they made. They also made sexy nightwear, hats and jewelry. They did their hair and nails, made perfumes, cooked and kept quite busy, I would say. Now it's just let's go shopping. But think about it. Way back then, who would make clothes to keep in the wardrobe for a year, like they do to us every year here, with a next season's spring fashion catalogue? Now it's your out of season clothes you never want to wear again that you take to the op shop, or it's the Nike Adidas group who are judged sinister as hoodies are fashion, or best to say, it's not what you wear, it's how you wear it. So there they are, the French corset. And Merry Christmas to you from the women that are probably white faced because I just can't trust anything. This picture, I conclude, is of the internet with horizontal and vertical lines representing sound and picture. So the Moors would have laid the telegraph copper lines all over the world, with the Ottoman too, perhaps. I say this picture is in Ballarat because I heard on Triple J way back that TV was invented in Ballarat 2 weeks after it was patented in the US. The batteries were insulated for sound, and the cannons never fired cannonballs but had whistles connected to them. It's for prayer, knowing what prayer time it was. So they've got that all like that. But that's a photograph of a battery. And if you look to the right, you'll see the whistles. Got the whistle, whistle, whistle. This is Brunel's 7-foot gauge railway that presumably was never built in Australia. Yet we can see it here in Port Melbourne to Flinders Street. And it probably ran from Bendigo to Footscray and Geelong to Ballarat. And these would have been mighty powerful steam locomotives. There's the Brunel gauge. And here's a cable car. I can't remember, 1880 someone said they started them, but you just need to have a look at the how old that stuff is there. These supports over the beam, they look old world, like before the flood, before many floods. And it's a nice little fern in there. Looks good. Now the breweries. This brewery, they reckon that's a brewery. No. My conclusion of the civilization that used alcohol as fuel and snake oil salesmen sold drugs to get you through the day, like alchemists or witches. So the brewery's wooden barrels carried the liquid. The liquid is probably wine. It's turned into something to be transported to this place and pumped up with hydraulic hoses. It's up high as it stinks and out the way. Once at the power plant, another liquid will be placed with it to create a flame-free reaction that turns the turbines to give us electricity. I have pictures of the exhaust, and I will show them later, not on this show. Another smoky picture of a brewery and another theatre. They're saying it's a brewery. Looks to me. And here it is, caught fire. Lovely sketch. Everyone's out, got the boats out. There's people down there in the water. I mean, it's huge. Everyone's just standing around watching it burn. Yeah, it's a monster amount of people around the corner. Here's the Theatre Royale, Royal Hotel, the Vestibule, Cafe de Paris. That's where the war in the French-English War started, in Burke Street. And they took out the French. I think there's someone in there with a hose. It's just a good sketch, mate, but I don't think anything went on. And now we've got capitalists selling insurance, using the gods and the sculptures you would have found in Fitzroy Gardens. Using God to sell insurance. Act of gods. Ah, such a bland expression of how wonderful Melbourne stonemasons are. How gifted these working class men were. And here they are, all grouped up, but here they really are. And I don't see a bottle of whiskey anywhere near them. I think they're just fishing. They're pretty stock, tonk, all got a hat on, terry toweling hat, whatever. And yeah, we see very tanned Australians, probably out in the 30s. But if you notice, he's got brunette hair. She may well be blonde or some freak redhead. But I think they're actually brown already, and the sun's not going to really change much. And here's war. Let's celebrate war. War without tears. Yeah, all good. Rations. Promoting the wars like clubs. Then it's national service. Now it's proxies and drones, so no Westerner leaves home. And this sketch from the 30s. And the last slide is how the 30s, they tried evicting everyone from their homes in certain inner suburbs to create a high-rise community that eventually got through in the 50s, around the time of the CIA's jolt into warfare and McCarthyism. But the 30s, they tried it with this sketch, perhaps as I have pictures where Melbourne is fully built up in the 30s, 20s, 10s, 1800s. And also there's Jim Crow. So what colour were the people they were trying to evict, and what were they trying to play here? How many are actual immigrants to Australia as opposed to change their heritage yet state olive? I have looked at around 5,000 odd photographs and I'm still bamboozled by the conclusions I come up with. But I hope you've enjoyed some of these alternative historical references, particularly I like fashion and 16th, 17th, 18th centuries just being like the international dateline or uh, different dates in different time zones, daylight savings, all those sort of things should make people question. Anyway, thanks. Bye.